Blessed full moon, everyone. This is Ari Moshe, and I'm going to speak about this full moon and some of the energies and the cycles that are unfolding at this time. So this full moon, we have the sun in Taurus, moon in Scorpio, and they're squaring Jupiter in Leo and Ceres in Aquarius. And this is creating a fixed grand cross in the fixed signs. One thing that these energies can really relate to is this sense of there being a lot of power, a lot of resource that wants to be shared, that wants to be circulated. In fact, this is a very potent energy because this square with Jupiter is pretty exact. And Jupiter is still, it moved direct about a month ago, but it's still gaining momentum. So it's still kind of like acclimating to this new journey. And so it might feel like there's a lot of expansion, maybe a lot of resources that want to be shared or given. But on one level, there can be this experience of either one, feeling like there isn't enough resource, or like I don't know how to do it, or I don't have the money that I need, or maybe there's debt or something that feels like it's holding us back from really moving forward. That's one way in which there can be this sense of tension. The other can be sort of the opposite, where it's like there's too much stuff. I have too many things, too many ideas, too many projects going on. The ruler of this full moon is Venus in Gemini. So one way or the other, there can be this feeling for some of stagnation, energy not moving, but feeling this really big buildup. So something wants to be released. And when I tune into this, I find that the invitation at this time is to really, it's almost like separating and kind of clearing out the psychological debris that deems any sense of physical conditions need to shift in order for me to feel clear, open, and fluid right now in my life. The calling is to just follow the heart, to share. Sometimes we don't know our abundance. In fact, I would say it's a principle of nature that we can't know our abundance until we let go of it, because everything in creation is constantly flowing. There's not one resource, not one organism that perpetually and always holds on to what it has. If you look at a tree, for example, it's generously giving so much resource, and it's very generously receiving an abundance from all over the place. The air, the sun, the earth, the water. And so resources in nature are constantly being exchanged. Us humans very often like to kind of get stuck in this way of thinking where we almost separate our own survival or our own well-being from the community, from the collective well-being. And that's really what creates these sort of psychological fixations of feeling like I don't have what I need, or I have too much, I don't know how to move with it. And so we're all in different places, but the calling at this time is like psychologically, emotionally, we can allow ourselves to kind of touch base and reconnect with that generosity that is inherent to creation. And when we don't share what we have, because of whatever beliefs or thoughts that we have that really deem it that we can't share, or we're not ready to, or we're not able to. And our sharing, it doesn't even have to be a big thing. It's really just about being ourselves. And so when we don't, it really does create a stagnation. And what we do not share, there's a quote in the Gospel of Thomas that I came across recently, and it's not an exact quote, but it goes something like, actually I don't remember the quote, but the essence of it is like, what is within you, if you fear it or if you let go of it, or if you don't let go of it, if you hold on to it, it will destroy you. But if you let go of what is within you, it will save you. And that's not at all the quote. I might be completely off, so forget that part. But I'm saying that what you hold on to will destroy you. And the Scorpio-Taurus axis is kind of like that. It's like Taurus is life, Scorpio is what we let go of. And you can never really experience one without the other. There's that constant flow and exchange of energy and creation. And sometimes with Leo, and this is particularly true with Jupiter and Leo, there can be this need to prove oneself. And so we think like, okay, well, I need to fill in the blank. I need to look a certain way, or I need to have a certain, this Jupiter is right now in conjunct to Pluto in Capricorn, which is currently moving retrograde, and they're coming to a very tight in conjunct. This can really imply or relate to this pressure of like, well, I need to be someone. I need to have a role. I need to have some sort of credential or structure, or where we can become overly identified with our image, how we're being seen, how we're being publicly acknowledged, and how believable we are to the external world. And when we become so overly focused on, are we being accepted, are we being approved of, do I seem beautiful to others, we're disconnecting from our inherent beauty. One of the distortions of the Leo archetype, and this is particularly true when we relate it to Pluto and Capricorn right now, is where beauty becomes a quantitative element, where we say things like, oh yeah, you're more beautiful, or your hair is more beautiful than so-and-so, or she is the most, or he's the most, whatever, where we have these ideas and these constructs of beauty and intelligence and whatever. And really every single human quality is incomparable to anything else. Each person's beauty, each person's uniqueness and specialness is relative only to itself. So your beauty and my beauty are incomparable, and they're infinite. The quality of our beauty and our specialness is an infinite quality. And you can't add to infinity, nor can you take away from it. So when we try to make ourselves something we're not, it's a silly game wherein we are attempting to take our infinite specialness and cloak it with something that we think we need to be in order to be valid. And in the same way, we can't diminish from our beauty. So hiding and keeping ourselves small and feeling like we're not worth. A part of what this Taurus energy here is worth and self-esteem, linked with Leo, self-confidence, being certain of oneself. And so we don't need to do anything or be anything other than what we already are in order to acknowledge and appreciate and exude our beauty and our inherent worth. And so one of the meditations for this full moon, I feel, is just this idea of enough. Who I am is enough. What I have is enough. Yes, there's going to be change. Yes, there's going to be expansion. I feel like there's a lot of movement and maybe a lot of uncertainty at this time. Things are always changing, but this moment is enough. And I was reflecting recently, like, I don't know who I am, but I know what I love, and I know what I care about. So we don't need to know a lot about our life. We don't need to have a lot of answers right now. In fact, most of the time, our answers are just ways of creating a false security and trying to know things. Usually, though, we don't have all the answers that we'd like to have. But our deeper security, our deeper peace, our deeper sense of presence really comes from connecting with and re-devoting ourselves to what we truly care about in life. And expressing our love. Part of the Scorpio-Taurus axis really represents sort of the fragileness or the impermanence of life itself. I was speaking to a friend recently, and she shared something that I've actually been thinking about, which is this idea of, like, if I was going to die tomorrow, if I knew that I was going to die tomorrow, what would I do? When we're faced with the reality of death, when we're faced with the impermanence of life, And sometimes that means actually facing it ourselves or with people in our life or loved ones. There's a certain seriousness and commitment and openness that often develops where we stop waiting to live, we stop holding off and pushing off our joy and our true purpose, our true self. So if I knew I was going to die tomorrow, what would I change? What would I do? When we touch base with sort of the impermanence of life, it has the potential to awaken us to what is really important. And then where there's a tendency to get stuck in the particulars or in the ideas of what we lack or what we need or what needs to change, that can fall away. And we can really simplify. And what I find for myself is connection and intimacy and love. It doesn't matter so much what I'm doing, whatever I'm doing. It doesn't really matter what role I'm playing. And in my own life, there's been a lot of deconstruction of what I think I'm doing with my life and who I am. And so what I'm finding is I get to find out by way of just doing it. And so this comes back to the invitation of this full moon, to really follow the heart. And Jupiter, in many ways, is about intuition. So there might be this sense of some vista or expansion that is kind of just in front of us, but we don't move forward. We don't embrace the new if we don't let go of something. The palm can't receive the grace if there's something in it. So oftentimes we just got to jump into it and maybe not know what's going to come next, but to sense it, to intuit it. And then life can really unfold for us when we allow that. So one more thought that I want to share about this full moon. Just really coming back to this idea that everything in creation is interlinked. There's no such thing at all. There's no such reality as self-reliance in an absolute sense. No organism is self-reliant. Everything's sharing. So really acknowledging and honoring how we just easily tend to isolate ourselves or separate ourselves. Where we're moving as humanity is to a more lucid understanding and recognition that the way that we live, the way that we thrive as a species, as a planetary being, as a galactic being, is through recognizing that there's no such thing as mine and yours in on a relative sense there is, but in an absolute sense there absolutely isn't. We're sharing the same air. And energetically, when we each actualize, when we share our love, it's kind of the same thing as a tree sharing its oxygen. And so my blessing and prayer for us for this full moon is that we allow one another to thrive and to truly not just get our needs met, but to feel full and content and whole and balanced and engaged and excited in this human life as we each make the choice to cultivate our courage and our love, to share who we are. And so we let go of it and it feeds the world around us. And in so doing, may we receive all the abundance that we need. All right, so I'm going to close with a little song here. Empty vessel, I am pure and holy. I am a sacred temple, I am a sacrimony. I am an empty vessel, I am pure and holy. I am a holy temple, I am a sacrimony. Dum da dee 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 dee. I refine this instrument of light. I dance, I play, and I say thank you every day. I sing, I write, and I refine this instrument of light. I dance, I play, I share my love in every way. I am an empty vessel. I am pure and holy. I am a sacred temple. I am a sacrimony. Blessed new moon, and much love.